Who'd have thunk it?
I finally convinced my wife to replace her old TV. This one you have to smack around a little bit to get the picture to clear up. Yep. Got it. This is our upgrade, so this means I can use the old one for my old video games. Alright. Okay, a common problem when the picture wiggles and jiggles and stuff and you have to hit it to straighten it up is because there's bad connections. So the bad connections can be caused by dust or as pieces that get a little bit warm, they expand and they cool off and they contract, expand and contract, and then whenever you have solder joints inside, that expansion and contracting can cause cracks. And once you have a crack going all the way around a pin, then you hit the TV every once in a while to straighten it up, because it jars it enough where it makes a connection. So we got to find out where the bad connections are on this old TV. So I've unscrewed, took out 2 screws on the top, there's 2 screws on the bottom. I'll take the back off. Oh, that thing is dusty. So all that dust built up. All that dust tells you that that could be part of the problem. I'm probably looking more for a bad solder joint in there somewhere. So first thing is clean it up so I can see it. Look at that dust kind of floating off of it as the fan blows on it. I fired up the compressor and had to carry the TV over to it. I don't have one right here in the shop, but blast the whole thing down with air, got rid of the majority of the dirt or dust. So that sure does look better, and I think it'll make it a little bit easier to find the bad spot. So there's a couple ways to do this, is kind of take it apart and just look for the bad spot, or I can plug it in and take some non-conductive material like a piece of plastic or a wooden stick and just kind of poke around and see if I can cause it to flicker. And when I find the place where it causes the picture to flicker, then I know, it narrows down the area that I have to look for the bad spot. So once I find it, I'll show you what I found. Okay, I've got my stick. It's just a 1/4 inch dowel, wooden dowel, and just kind of poke around the back. Don't have to worry about it shorting anything out because it is wood. You do have to worry about bending things over. That's an area to look for. You can see it twitching. So that's around the high voltage output. And when I first took it off, over here there was a spot, but I may have tapped. This is where plugs from the tuner are, and it may just be a. There we go. Okay. Seems like as it gets warmer, it does this more. So around the tuner area, there's a bunch of plugs. So it could just be the plugs. I can take them off and put them on a few times and see if it can clean them up. And in the middle of the board, there doesn't seem to be much of a problem. So where I'm looking. Where I need to look for is around the tuner area and the plugs, and around the high voltage, which that seems to have more of an impact. So Just dirty contacts probably, I'm hoping. And if it's not just dirty contacts, it's going to be a bad solder connection. So the first thing I'll do is check for dirty contacts. Check for dirty contacts, and if that doesn't clear it up, then I look for bad solder joints. Like I said, the word of warning is this is your high voltage output, and as long as the TV is not on, you don't have to worry about it. But even though, even if your TV is off, the picture tube itself, the cathode ray tube, it's the old style picture tube, has 25,000 volts in it. And where this connects right there, you want to make sure you drain that off before you touch this, or it unloads, and it's like that. It won't kill you, but it hurts. It's not fun. So what you do is you while the cap is there, you slide a screwdriver up underneath it, and you usually have either a cable connected to that, hooked to ground, or you can use a second screwdriver to arc it off to somewhere else. And a lot of times there's this ground strap that's on the back of the TV, or on the tube, to draw off static electricity that builds up on there. But you can short it off to that, which runs it to ground. But there again, you use two screwdrivers, you slide it up underneath there, you touch that anode and have another screwdriver that touches that, and then cross the two together. You'll see a little arc for just a second, and a tiny little lightning bolt, and then it goes away. So it makes it a lot safer. So I've decided to go ahead and pull the chassis loose. I've noticed that the buttons on the front of the TV are very sensitive, and those are these buttons right here. So I'm going to unplug it and pull the chassis completely out before I start looking for bad solder joints. And I've got to find some kind of cleaner to clean these. Now, back in the old days, used to have stuff called tuner cleaner, and you just spray it into the tuner and run it around on the old barrel type tuners. There was stuff called a product called Blue Stuff that just worked great, because you spray it in and then you run it around a few times, and it cleans it and it lubricates it at the same time. You need to have your contacts lubricated, but you don't want it to be using a chemical that carries current, because that changes your volumes and things like that. But times are different. These aren't knobs, those are push buttons, so it's single contacts. I'm not quite sure how to clean that yet. That could be where a lot of the problem is, just on those buttons that are dirty. But I'll show you what else I find when I find it. Okay, I'm not seeing any bad soldering joints. We do have a little bit of discoloration in this area. Now that's normal. This is your high voltage output area. It creates a lot of heat. It's where the transformer is that puts the voltage into the CRT. I don't see any bad soldering joints, except for, there's a, oops, don't do that. Right over here is, looks like a factory boo-boo. I haven't had this open, so it's exactly as it was when it came from the factory. Those aren't bad joints. It's just something other than factory. It's like a repair that they made before it went out to the stores. So I think my problem is not so much bad soldering joints, because a bad soldering joint you would see, I don't know how small I can get this, but you would see a little crack around a pin. And you would see a pin sticking up. I don't think the thing's going to focus, but you see a pin sticking up, and there would be a crack around it where it'd heat, get hot and cold, and crack. And I'm not seeing that anywhere on the board. So, more than likely, that's not the issue. So we have to worry about the cleaning of the controls, which over here, and I think that's where the issue is. So let's see if I can find some kind of a cleaner so I can clean those. Okay, kind of got everything back in except for the second anode. Kind of flop it back like that. It needs to lock in place. And when the rubber flops down, it holds it snug. Now on the buttons, I couldn't find I didn't actually look very hard for it, but I didn't find a tuner cleaner. I didn't have anything here. So what I did is, while I had the chassis off, I just took my air compressor and blew the dust out of the buttons. And that seems to have fixed it, because whoops, I just turned it off. It seems to be working pretty awesome. So now I get to try the video games on it. Now that I got an old TV to work, I also got an old video game machine. Now, this is not just a video game machine. This is a Texas Instruments TI-99/4A, which is one of the first home computers you could have gotten. Everything else was big and bulky. This one's really compact. Very limited on what you can do, but it was really cool at the time. But you can do a lot of basic computing on it, but you can play video games. And the games that I've got, it's a Miner 2049er, where you're jumping around and looking for gold. Blasto is a tank game. Awesome. Adventure, it's an adventure game. I've got TI Invaders. If you've ever seen Space Invaders, this is just like Space Invaders, but it's the Texas Instrument version. Awesome game. I just love it. I got video chess when I want to take the time to use my brain. Munchman, it's like Pac-Man, but it's the TI version of it. And then I've got Miss Pac-Man. And let's see, what else we got? Parsec, where you're flying and you have to go down inside a cave to get your fuel, and you have to do it without bumping into the stalactites and stalagmites will blow you up. Very exciting, very hard game. And this, one of my favorites, Star Trek, because I'm a Trekkie from way back. With Star Trek, you use the speech synthesizer, so the game actually talks to you while you play. I know games do that all the time now, but when I first got this is the only game machine that would actually do that. Awesome. I'm so happy. What's this? I got one more. How about that?